Welcome to this special edition of Studio 5. Today we are in conversation with rapper nobigdyl.
Everybody keep on sleeping on deal. Blood, sweat, tears, man, look what I spill. Spotify looking ideal. Why every day I be in my field?
Music fans know him as simply nobigdyl. Dylan is the given name,
yeah,
right?
Dylan. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Where did the name change happen?
From Dylan to nobigdyl. So first I want to shout out my dad because my dad actually named me after Bob Dylan.
Really?
Which is really cool.
We have the full story behind the name, and we're tracing his humble roots.
I started like rapping in middle school with my friends. Like, mom took me to a little recording studio for my birthday in 6th grade. Me and my friends went and we recorded like a little mixtape.
Our conversation then turns from music to ministry.
Any artist who leads with authenticity, your music is going to be a reflection of your heart.
And we visit nobigdyl's Tiny Desk dreams.
You don't know Jesus till you see him in your enemy.
It's all coming up in this Studio 5 one-on-one. His name at birth is Dylan Phillips, and he is taking us back to his humble beginnings. And of course, we have to begin with exactly how he got his stage name.
I know that Satan is mad at me. Gotta be grateful that God is amazing and got me up out of my tracks.
So we know that your mom and dad didn't see you and say, let's name him nobigdyl. So yeah. Dylan is the given name, right?
Dylan. Yeah.
So where did the name change happen?
From Dylan to nobigdyl. So first I want to shout out my dad because my dad actually named me after Bob Dylan.
Really?
Which is really cool. Yeah. He just loved like the lyrical and poetic nature of Bob Dylan, and so he wanted to name his son that. And so I think that is pretty special.
I like that.
And then nobigdyl, and it's stylized like all lowercase with a period. I really wanted to convey, even in my name, that this is not all about me. There's a bigger message that I'm telling and a God that I'm serving. So even when you see my name, it's almost like stylistically there's some humility in the actual letters themselves.
One of my favorite questions for hip-hop folks, having seen Brown Sugar, when did you fall in love with hip-hop? What happened?
Yeah, I basically was just like raised in hip-hop. So super early in my life, my mom did not want me listening to hip-hop music. It was the 90s, and she didn't want that. My dad, however, had a different opinion, so he was sneaking Onyx and different rap like that. And then I really fell in love through my uncle. So my uncle's a musician. He is a drummer, multiple Grammy Award-winning drummer.
Nice.
And jazz is his genre.
Okay.
So I grew up going to jazz clubs, watching him play. And there'd also be spoken word poets there. And so I think that kind of the rhythms of jazz and then the narrative and wordplay and spoken word poetry, that was like that's how I kind of cut my teeth on the rhythm and the lyrical nature. So I did spoken word poetry first when I was really young, like 9 and 10.
Wow.
And that kind of just like naturally evolved into a love for hip hop as my uncle was showing me, Reflection Eternal, like Talib Kweli and Mos Def. He was more like a backpack rap type guy. And so that just, grew into a love for me. And I started like rapping in middle school with my friends. Like mom took me to a little recording studio for my birthday in 6th grade. Me and my friends went and we recorded like a little mixtape, and then we were like passing that out at school. So it was like it's been like a lifelong thing for me.
So when you're passing out that mixtape, did you then know that this could be lifetime, or what were you thinking?
I mean, at that time, I think that we thought we had already made it. Just the fact that we were 6th graders with a CD, and we're passing it out to people and they're listening to it. I think that everything was just like. Every step was incredible along the way, But I think it was actually when I got a little bit older that I started being like, okay, is this viable or not? When you're a kid, it's just like, oh man. Like I remember us having conversations of like, Mom, are we gonna have to get like a tutor, like kids who are on TV, and like we're gonna travel around and perform and all this stuff? And she's like, let's just focus on grades, you know what I mean? But yeah, then when you're getting older and it's like, okay, is this actually a viable career path? Is this going to support me type thing? That was a little bit later, you know.
And looking there, I venture to say that you question whether or not it would be viable because you opted, instead of going artistically, what path did you choose first?
Yeah, music business. So I went to MTSU for audio production because my first thought was, okay, if I'm on the audio production side, you know, the engineering, the beat making side, then that's a little bit more job security. You can work in multiple different genres, multiple different disciplines even, you know. And I got into my first year at MTSU and took audio fundamentals and was like, I am not doing this. First of all, I was not good at it. Also, I was way too far behind. And there's like an inside joke at MTSU where it's like that class, like so many kids go into that class thinking they're going to be in that program, and then they realize they're not going to be. And so I was like, okay, let me switch to music business. And I actually had a natural aptitude for that. So then my plan was, I'm going to keep making music like in my free time, but I'll study music business. Okay. And that seemed to be like a winning combination for me. Yeah.
So you begin your career path managing folks?
Yeah, I was Derek Miner's road manager and merch manager first. First, I was his intern, and then became his merch manager and then his road manager. And so, yeah, we did multiple tours together, Winter Jam together, and I met so many industry contacts and friends through road managing Derek. And yeah, so there was very generous guy. He knew I was making music on the side. He was more interested in kind of like discipling me and my friends on a personal level. We had showed him a song really early on. It wasn't good, but he didn't say that. I know that. I know this now. I know this now, looking back. But when we met, we were like, "Oh, we got to show Derek this song." We showed it to him. He played it in his car. He was very nice, but he very quickly shifted the conversation to, we should like get together and study the Bible together, just do life together type thing. So that's what happened first, and then the internship came after that, and then stuff came after that. Fast forward, I've been working in his studio on the side because he gave me an extra key. He's just the nicest guy. And he comes in one day and he's like, "Who's this? Whose song is this?" I'm like, "This is me." And he's like, "This is your song. You did this." I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Wow." And so he tweeted out the link to that song to his followers. Wow. And that was the first little like internet buzz that I ever got, was when he tweeted that out. And then a couple weeks later, he sat me down and he was like, "Do you want to be an artist manager all your life, or do you actually want to be an artist?" And I still had this mindset of being an artist is very risky, not a lot of people make it. It's like, trying to get to the NBA or the NFL or something like that. And so I was like, well, in a perfect world, I'd be an artist, but I think I'm gonna stay on the business side. And he was like, "Okay, cool, you're fired." And
so he made the decision.
Yeah. He was like, "You're fired." But he told me that like he had never seen somebody make it who had a safety net, and he kind of had to like push me out of the nest. And so that kind of lit a fire underneath me, because now I don't have a job, but I have this passion for music. And so that first year after he fired me, I did 3 projects online. And that kind of built my little fan base, and it just took off from there.
See that I'm winning and think that I'm sinning. You gotta be kidding. Well, actually, I guess you right, factually. Thankful to Savior to death for me happily.
No Big Deal is the winner of 2 Dove Awards, one for Hip Hop Record and the other for Hip Hop Album. Next up, No Big Deal talks about music ministry and the difference between the two.
That was the moment that started this process of healing and truly following Jesus.
Stay connected with CBN News all day across our platforms.
Welcome back to our Studio 5 one-on-one with No Big Deal. Let's pick up the conversation with his take on music ministry and life.
Everyone think they hot until you put the fire to him. Came out my mama and I was covered in lighter fluid. Think I could walk on water since I saw Messiah do it. Thank God I walked on water, it must be the line of Judah.
When did the music for you become ministry?
So I say that any artist who leads with authenticity, your music is going to be a reflection of your heart. You know, just like the Bible says, like your words are a reflection of your heart. Out of your heart, you know, the mouth speaks. So I think that my music is just a reflection of what's in my heart. There was not a moment like where I was like, okay, I'm actually not going to make secular hip hop, I'm going to make Christian hip hop. Or there was not a moment at MTSU where I was like, I'm going to go into the Christian music industry. I'm just making music and this is what's real to me. I would have to fake to talk about the typical rap things in the mainstream. That would be, yeah, I'd just be making stuff up.
Which many artists are.
Yeah, I would just be making stuff up. So this is me this is actually my relationship with Jesus and what I've learned walking with him, and the different viewpoints and perspectives that he's given me as we walk together through life, you know. So I do think that I don't know if I really technically think of music as ministry. I think that, you know, when you think about the word ministry, ministering, serving, like I think that all Christians are called to that. And I'm not sure if my ministry is music. I know that my ministry is to love God with my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love my neighbor as myself. You know, I know my ministry is to lay down my life for my brother. I know my ministry is to correctly represent God and effectively communicate the gospel to people. And I think that happens through music, but that also happens through conversations that I have with people. It also happens when I'm using my time and my gifts to serve the needy, you know. So even though I know that people mean well with the sentiment, I think if we make, like, for a musician, if it's like, oh, my ministry is the music, then does that mean that I fulfilled my duty to minister through this, and then everything else takes a back seat? And I think that's where you get people who are, the music is amazing, and then the rest of the life is not, you know? Yeah. So.
Yeah. So when did you make the connection in terms of your life as ministry? What happened?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that. I love how you brought that together. Yeah. So I think that, you know, I grew up in a Christian home, wonderful parents, and I think almost because we always went to church, I think it was hard for me to make the faith my own, meaning that I kind of just associated being a Christian with being a good kid. Same way I thought about getting good grades, same way I thought about being obedient to mom, you know, not talking back. Same thing. Oh, I'm a Christian. You know, I'm a Christian kid. And so it wasn't my personal faith. It was just like, we're Christians, you know. But then when I went to college, my family moved away. So essentially it was like I went out of state for college. I'm by myself now. I don't have that authority over me, you know, dragging me to church when I don't want to go to church or anything like that. And now kind of the world is like open to me, you know, and there's a lot more temptations that come in through, you know, basically just being your own God, like chasing pleasure, chasing relationships, status, you know, building your own kingdom. You know, and I was very tempted by those things, and I fell into a lot of those vices and a lot of those addictive patterns. And there was a moment where basically it felt like I was living two lives. Like anybody who knew me at the time would have described me as, oh, he's a great guy, you know. And really I have this whole like life of secret sin and addiction and like kind of under wraps that only God knows about. So there was this moment where God was basically like, so yeah, you have technically gotten away with this. Nobody is threatening to out you and all of this. And you could choose to continue going that way. but that's not my way for you. Like, I'm not going there. It's almost like when God told Moses, like, you know what, you guys can go to the promised land, but I'm not going. And Moses said, I don't want to go anywhere without you. Yeah. It was that moment. And so that I said, yes, you know what, no, I'm choosing your way, which requires me to drag all of this stuff that's in the darkness into the light. And I'm talking about real confession. I'm talking about face-to-face confession about these sins that I've been dealing with, bringing the church in on it, bringing my wife in on it, all of these things. And I think that was the moment where, or that was the moment that started this process of healing and truly following Jesus. And then the call was help people that are in your position or look like they're on the are in the position that you were in, or they look like they're on the trajectory to go that way, and help them not take that path, you know. And so one of the ways I do that is through music. That's why I'm very vulnerable in my music about that stuff. But I also do that one-on-one with people. I also do that in my church community, which is kind of why I said I don't necessarily say just the music, because the call is bigger than the call is God saying, okay, show people your scars so that they don't get the same scars, you know.
Came out my mama and I was covered in lighter fluid. Think I could walk on water since I saw Messiah do it. Thank God I walked on water. It must be the Lion of Judah.
No Big Deal and Cato One Track have an EP called Soul Brother. You can listen to it wherever you purchase or stream your music material. Still ahead, No Big Deal breaks down the stories behind some of his greatest music and one of his biggest highlights of his musical career.
Even when you don't win, your music is introduced to this whole different audience, which I'm very appreciative of. So it's been a great journey, yeah.
No Big Deal has auditioned for the NPR Contest for Independent Artists. It's a journey to fulfill one of the dreams of his career, to perform an NPR Tiny Desk Concert.
Christian music or music that Christians use to get their fix, just another hit of the clicks and views.
Many high points of your career we can talk about. One I want to talk about is you're on this journey, I guess hopefully to be at NPR's Tiny Desk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Tiny Desk Concert.
At some point.
Yeah.
And you're getting some nods like, okay, we're getting closer.
I read epistles and take a sip of the liquor too. And everyone you listen to, I saw they did it too.
Yeah, so NPR Tiny Desk, that's been a dream of mine for a long time. I just love the format. I love the musicianship that they bring in and the way that you can kind of represent your recorded songs in this live music format. I think it's amazing. And so, they started opening it up as a contest for independent artists. And so, I've entered it the last 2 years, and both years I won the fan favorite. Both years, which is like the fans vote for that. And then Top Shelf. So like there's 7,500 entries this year, and Top Shelf is the top 50 picked by the judges. So both years I've been in the top 50 out of, almost 8,000. So we're still in the running for that. We're just trying to get that final pick so that I can have like a full Tiny Desk concert. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey, just like even interacting with the people at NPR. They're great people, and kind of even when you don't win, your music is introduced to this whole different audience, which I'm very appreciative of. So it's been a great journey, yeah.
Thanks. In preparation for the interview, I like to listen to at least one song or on repeats. I've been listening to Never Going Back over and over and over again. Tell us about that single.
Know the Lord, he go before me, keep the cross up on my back. Tell my story for his glory, we ain't never going back.
Never Going Back is a single I released a couple weeks ago with Project Pat, who is a Memphis legend, a Tennessee legend, a hip-hop legend. Who is now a believer. He has a prison ministry. He's, they call him Pastor Pat now. And it's amazing because I grew up listening to him, and his music was completely different. So it was amazing being able to work with him and for the messages to actually resonate at this point in time. It was just like a an unexpected huge blessing. And shout out to the producer Kato on the track. So we made this song together, and he made the connection with Project Pat. So yeah, that was great. And that song, man, I did not know people would resonate with that song. I was just like, this is something I want to do. Like, this is a bucket list type thing for me as a Tennessee kid. But people are really, really resonating with that song.
Tell my story for its glory. We ain't never going back. We ain't never going back. We ain't never going back.
For more information on No Big Deal, simply visit his website, dilly.com.
Stay connected with CBN News all day across our platforms.
Welcome back to Studio 5. Music helps us to bring you this show each and every week. And this week's soundtrack comes from, of course, No Big Deal. Take a listen and you'll hear why his renaissance is what's playing in my ear this week.
I'ma tell you one thing right now. If I rap by codeine right now, they will probably all sing right now. Told my bro we don't hold no fear. Sign my soul for some go right here. We gon' tell them like no way, no way, no way. We won't sell our soul for the pain today. Make a way where there ain't no way. Me and all my bros, brothers in today.
On that musical note, we are just about out of time for this week's edition of Studio 5. We've got time for just one more thing. Let's give the final word to Dylan Phillips. In light of all that you've done thus far in life, if you could go back in time to speak to young No Big Deal, although you weren't that then, what would you tell that little boy?
I think what I needed to hear is that there are people who will accept you for who you are. You don't have to assimilate into this idea of this perfect kid or even this perfect Christian or, you know, this like perfect cookie cutter version of those things. There are people who will authentically love you, and they will challenge you, and they will call you to higher. But that's part of authentic love. They won't shame you. They won't place shame on you that Jesus is taken away. They won't say, hey, you need to, you know, modify your behavior to fit in this box. They'll walk with you through the good and the bad, the pretty and the ugly, and they will call you to higher when you are not walking in your sonship. But they will really love you. I think I needed to hear that when I was young.
No big deal. That's a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and for this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching.